Welcome in to the Roll Tide Rewind. We are here to break down Auburn's defensive side of the ball, led by DJ Durkin, who is now their interim head coach for the time being until they find their actual head coach. But thank you guys for 620 subscribers. Appreciate all the support. We break down Auburn's offense yesterday on Monday. Auburn's defensive preview is today on Tuesday. So let's hop into the film. Auburn's defense is, I think, the only reason they've been relevant this year. Offense has just been very much a painful watch, but a lot of their games are close only because their defense keeps them in the game. Because their offense, while being subpar, their defense is elite, and this is probably the best defense Alabama has played all year up to this point, I would say. But we're going to start out with the negatives for the Auburn defense. We're going to start out where Alabama can be successful. We're going to start out with pass coverage bust from Auburn this year. We're going to go into some different plays and see what's happening on Auburn's defense is their miscommunication and how Alabama can take advantage of this. So this is the first game of the year. I know this is the first game of the year where most mistakes will be made, but this is a common theme that we're going to get to here. Baylor on a 4th and 6. There's a touchdown to a wide open receiver. Hello, Kobe Prentice. We miss having you this year. But you can see there's no communication on the backside there between the safety and the corner and the linebacker. He just runs straight by, like no one's going to account for him because he's wide open. No one's picking him. No one's picking him up, and they just don't know what happened there on that play. You see here against Vanderbilt, this is where Auburn's pass defense really took a hit. Auburn's pass defense, second worst pass defense in the SEC, third worst completion percentage allowed. Alabama has the third best passing offense in the SEC. Vanderbilt scored the most at Auburn this year, 45 points, and it's because they passed the ball effectively. Their pass defense, the best passing offenses they played this year are Arkansas, Texas A&M, and Vanderbilt. When they played, and Baylor has a good passing offense too, but the three best in the SEC, those are the best pass offenses they faced. Arkansas, Taylon Green was able to throw for 268 yards. Marcel Reed threw 207. Auburn did a pretty good job of limiting their big play that day. But Pavia threw for 377. Pavia and them had a lot of success against Auburn's defense. But even like right here, there's no communication on this passing play. You can't really see it that well, but it's runs an out route, runs a double move, and no one accounts for the receiver there. And it's an easy touchdown for Vanderbilt. We'll see better on the replay, but yeah, it looks like one of the, from what I can tell, there's no safety help, but it looks like we have a zone coverage, we have a man coverage. Safety goes to the middle of the field, and he's open for days. Alabama's got to be able to take advantage of this. Arkansas here, no one accounts for the tight end. Josh Cuevas not playing this game is going to be huge for Alabama and a positive for Auburn. But Caleb Edwards is going to have a big day, I think, at the tight end position to make Alabama's offense a little more susceptible, a little bit more, well, not susceptible, a little bit more suspicious, as you will, for Auburn to be more confused. But Auburn's defense, their biggest weakness is going to be their secondary. And the great news for Alabama is that's Alabama's main positive on offense because they haven't been able to run the ball effectively, but they have great receivers to throw the ball to. Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard, Isaiah Horton, Loxier Brooks. I think this is going to have to be a Jeremy Bernard game. He missed last week against Eastern Illinois to be better prepared for this game, healthy-wise. But Jeremy Bernard is going to have to be the big key here because if Auburn is losing receivers downfield like this, Jeremy Bernard and Alabama's favorite play to run, I feel like this year, is a Ty Simpson throw over the middle to Jeremy Bernard. And I feel like that's what's going to have to be the big key here. Alabama has not hit the deep ball well at all this year. They're one of the worst teams at the deep ball. So a lot of these clips are deep ball clips. Well, not all of them. Some of them are more than 40-yard passes downfield, but the 20-yard passes Alabama can do. But Alabama has been very limited in their deep ball. But in plays over the middle of the field, if you're going to let Bernard run open for 15 yards a pop every pass, we'll take it. Same thing with Horton, same thing with Ryan Williams. But I think this is going to be a Bernard game. Bernard's going to have to be the one to stand out and make big plays. But where Alabama can beat Auburn is the passing game. Because, like I said, ain't going to be the run game. We'll go over the run game. We'll talk about it. But Auburn's weakness is passing defense, and that's Alabama's pro. That's what Alabama wants to go crazy with. What Auburn is good at, though, that Alabama needs to be aware of, is Auburn can pressure the quarterback. 26 sacks. Before the Mercer game, they had 26 sacks, which was fifth in the SEC behind Oklahoma and Tennessee. Oklahoma had success rushing the passer. Tennessee didn't have as much success against Alabama rushing the passer, but both of them did one key thing. They strip sacked Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson didn't get strip sacked against Eastern Illinois, but before that, he had a 5-game streak of being strip sacked. He was strip sacked against Missouri. He was strip sacked against Tennessee, South Carolina, LSU, and then Oklahoma. And the Oklahoma one proved to be key. That was the difference in the game. The others didn't prove to be as fatal, but they are fatal plays. And especially in a game like this where all is on the line for Alabama and Auburn is just trying to prevent Alabama from going as far, like maybe getting a playoff hosting spot, Auburn is going to go all out with pressure. They're going to go all out with different stunts that we haven't seen before. But, yeah, it's going to be a definite aspect for Alabama and Ty Simpson taking care of the football because he's turned the ball over 7 games in a row. Part of that is the strip sacks, but he's thrown more interceptions in November. He's thrown 3 interceptions in November, and he had thrown 1 in September and October of the football season. So pressure is going to make Ty have to think better. It's going to have to make him think fast, but also taking care of the football is going to be key. But that's where Auburn can get Alabama. Is it going to be where Ty fumbles and Auburn takes over in plus territory and is able to get, bonus points that they weren't going to get? Because one thing Auburn has that Alabama doesn't have, Auburn has a pretty good kicker. Auburn can take advantage of short fields, whereas Alabama really hasn't been able to because offense isn't finishing drives, but also not a great kicker in the process. Let's move on to Auburn's run defense. This is one of Auburn's pros. Kedrick Falk has been an animal in the run defense this year. But Alabama has not run the ball well. Let's just say it like that. Auburn has the 3rd best rushing defense in the SEC behind Oklahoma. Alabama didn't run the ball necessarily well against Oklahoma, but that was one of their best bright spots, was being able to run for at least 80 yards on a team, which it's crazy to say that that's an impressive feat, but for Alabama's rushing offense, that's been the best that they've done this year. Auburn's defense at stopping the run has prevented guys like Ahmad Hardy from having a big game. Ahmad Hardy's been one of the better backs in the entire country. He only had 50 or so yards against Auburn. Auburn has been very much on point and sharp with stopping the run, whereas Alabama running the ball has not been as good. So the positive thing of that is Alabama's negative is running the football. Auburn's positive is stopping the run. Well, that tells you how you think that's going to go. But looking at one of these games, I did see faults in Auburn's rush defense that I wanted to talk about for a second. And Alabama lately has been doing something that just hasn't been as successful. They've been doing a lot of tosses, especially to Jam Miller. We talked about this in a video a few weeks ago about Alabama's run game not being as successful. And a lot of it has to do with them doing a lot of toss plays to Jam Miller. And I think those are just negative plays, automatic negative plays. But one thing I found in the Texas A&M Auburn game is A&M ran the ball a lot up the middle, and that was successful for Texas A&M. Now, does Texas A&M have Le'Veon Moss and Alabama doesn't? Yeah. Do they have Reuben Owens and Alabama doesn't? Yes. But I think this is where Daniel Hill can be successful. Maybe if A.K. Deer gets carries in this game. Maybe I'm just being too wishy. But Alabama's going to have to run the ball effectively. If Alabama runs the ball well against Auburn, they're going to win the game. It's 99% likely that it's not going to happen. It's likely that it's not going to be a factor in the game and that it's all going to be placed on Ty Simpson's hands. And that's why I talked about the pass defense in the beginning, how Alabama's strength is passing the ball and Auburn's strength is not stopping the pass. But we've seen in the last few weeks that Ty Simpson he's regressed a little bit. He's kind of struggling. He's missing throws over the middle. So the plays that we thought would always be there all year haven't been there. So we're going to have to rely on the run game a little bit. It doesn't have to go crazy, go for 150 yards. But if Alabama runs the ball well against Auburn, like I said, I think that wins Alabama the game. Maybe it's Daniel Hill up the middle on a 3rd and 1 gaining 2 yards consistently, or him getting the ball and kind of what Le'Veon Moss does here, pushes the pile that would have been a 1-yard gain, ends up being an 11-yard gain and a first down. Momentum shifting plays, but also A&M was good at noticing the fronts, how they lined up. Auburn overloads this entire side. They only have a defensive end. The linebacker blitzes into the opposite A-gap. Defensive end blocked. nose tackle blocked. There's just a hole right here. And it's just basically a one-on-one with the safety. And the safety does win here, but that's a pop play right there. Whoops. That's a pop play. It goes from the 45-yard line or near the 45, and it takes some, I think this is to like almost a first and goal. Gets all the way. Yeah, it's a first and goal. So noticing the alignment is going to be key. A&M blocks it perfectly there, but is Alabama going to block it perfectly? I don't expect them to block everything perfectly, but you can see here on these plays, A&M was able to find creases and be able to make plays. So I think that is where Alabama's going to – if Alabama is to win the game, they're going to have to run the football effectively. Now, they don't have to run it effectively to win the game, but if they do, I feel comfortable with Alabama winning this game. But this game is kind of crazy. We've known that for years, so if anything can happen. But I think also with the running game that we're going to have to talk about is Ty Simpson is going to have to be big with his legs. I'm just showing one play from the Kentucky game, but quarterback that usually doesn't use his legs a lot, Auburn is kind of fooled by him pulling the ball. Alabama is going to have to probably utilize Ty's legs somewhat in this game, but you've seen the Oklahoma game. Oklahoma is not expecting Ty to pull on this read option, but he does. Almost gets a first down. He does it a little bit later in the game as well, but you can see here how the defense just closes down. And even though he stutters his feet, he just assumes that ball is going to Jam Miller and doesn't even account for Ty Simpson. And then you're going to see on this next play here, Ty can make moves in the middle of the field with his legs. Makes the defender go straight to the ground and is able to get a first down. You'll hear every game from the announcers. They'll be like, did you know Ty Simpson was a dual threat quarterback in high school? Like, we haven't heard it, in every single game. But I think Ty's legs are going to be important here. This is a do or die game for Alabama. Alabama's going to have to pull out some tricks. They're going to have to pull out everything because if Alabama loses this game, it's over. Playoff hopes are over. SEC title hopes are over. You're going to have to pull out the tricks. But the same thing has happened, the last two times Alabama's played Auburn. Alabama, we'll just kind of rewind back here. We're going to go back to some of our miracle plays that won us the Iron Bowl the past two times in Jordan-Hare. But if you remember in 2021, Alabama was 10-1. They were playing Georgia the next week. Georgia was going to be a touchdown favorite regardless. The 2021 Georgia team was a great football team, great defense, but went into Auburn. Auburn was 6-5. They were starting TJ Finley at quarterback, and realistically, Auburn should have won this game. They played better the whole game. But then Bryce Young delivered, was able to get this ball to Ja'Cory Brooks on a 3rd and 10, and Alabama was able to escape with a win, not before they went into overtime here and hit this play to John Mechie to seal the deal. But Alabama was the better team. They came into Auburn, and they escaped. Auburn probably should have won the football game, but they didn't, and Alabama escaped, and they won. That's what matters. We'll go to 2023. I happen to be at this game. This one was a fun one. A fun one at the end, of course. But at 2023, Alabama comes in ranked 8th, 10-1. Auburn 6-5. So Alabama's coming into this game 9-2. Auburn is 5-6. So very similar. Alabama needed this win to, I believe they needed it to get to the SEC. No, I don't think they needed it to get to the SEC title game, but they needed it to expand on their playoff resume because there was only a 14 playoff. They were ranked 8. They didn't need to lose this game. They needed to win this game and go play Georgia. And if you beat Georgia, you're in the playoff, which ended up happening because Jordan Travis broke his leg, unfortunately. But we did make the playoff. Alabama has to deliver here. But this game was very similar. It was higher scoring than the other one. But Alabama came in as the better football team. Auburn probably played a lot better than Alabama did this day, and Auburn probably was the better team on this day. Alabama was able to come through on a 4th and goal from the 31-yard line, and they were able to escape with the win. Is that how it's going to go this time? Is it going to be a case where Alabama goes into Jordan-Hare and they escape? Like something happens at the end of the game, miracle happens. Who's going to be the guy to deliver? Is it going to be Ty Simpson? Is he going to deliver in that moment? He was able to deliver against South Carolina, wasn't able to deliver against Oklahoma. Is he going to be able to deliver if the stakes are high and you have to go on a drive in the Iron Bowl at Jordan-Hare to win the game? Or are we going to win comfortably? We're a 4.5-point favorite. Who's to say Alabama wins by 10 to 15 points? If you look at Auburn's wins this year, they I don't think, have beaten a team that is bowl eligible. So is Well, they beat Mercer, who's 9-1, but Mercer's not an FBS team. So this would be Auburn's by far their best win of the year. This could elevate DJ Durkin to possibly a higher ranking job. Maybe Auburn wants to hire him after he beats Alabama, but this is going to be like, is it going to be a miracle? Are we going to have to pull something out of our rear end, as you will, or are we going to be comfortably winning? If it's going to be comfortably winning, we're going to have to run the ball effectively, and Ty is going to be on his A game. But if not, we know how the dark magic there works at Jordan-Hare. Alabama's going to have to deliver in some stressful moments. Like, is it converting a 4th down, converting a 3rd and goal? I think Alabama's going to try to avoid kicking as many field goals in this game as possible, considering what happened with Cade Foster in 2013 and also just how Talty's played this year. But this is going to be the biggest game Auburn's had this year, but Alabama needs to treat it as their biggest game too. So I look forward to Saturday. There's going to be a great rivalry weekend. I hope that I'm able to come here next week and preview the SEC title game, possibly against Texas A&M. But until then, I hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving week. Enjoy some Tide hoops and enjoy some football on Saturday and also on Friday too. But until then, roll Tide.